Hey y'all, Matt, Massive Beers here, back with another beer review. Another beer review courtesy of our boy Steven. Steven, the mighty Steven, friend of the channel, friend of a lot of beer tubers. Sends off beers to a bunch of us, and this one right here, I'm pumped to dive into. Yeah, first glance, you probably like, unless you're like in the know and you're into like beer on a weird level, which you're watching me, so that's probably you. But regardless, yeah, doesn't look like a Treehouse label, but this is a Treehouse beer. Yeah, this is their Weizenbach. Look at that sucker. A Treehouse Weizenbach, coming in at 8% alcohol by volume. My interest is piqued. Treehouse Brewing Company, established 2011. This is their Weizenbach wheat beer, 1 pint. It's 8.2% alcohol by volume. It's a King Condition handcrafted for exceptionally smooth texture. Looking for that mouthfeel here then. What do we have in the back? It's called Restless. That's the name. And it doesn't say it on the front, but it says it on the back. It says here, expertly crafted Restless is a rich, traditional, and delicious. To make it, we combined wheat and complex assortment of German specialty malts and noble hops before fermenting it at the hands of a traditional top fermenting Weiss yeast. It is the re-fermented in the can to produce a velvety texture and would otherwise be impossible to achieve. Impossible, they say. Let's see. Combining the best elements of a traditional Doppelbock and a Weiss beer, it carries rich malty complexity in character with notes of brown bread, molten toffee, dark fruit, and mild yeasty phenols. Yeah. Let's dive in this sucker. I am pumped. We got a date on this sucker. It's got to have a little bit of time on it. This was from October, so we're talking about is the 4th of February right now. I am not saying that's going to be bad for a Weizenbach. That might be good for a Weizenbach. Give it a little bit of time to do its thing. Not too long. Let's put it that way. Anyway, I really do like the label. It screams of traditional, old school kind of beer gardy stuff. So I'm a fan. There you go. How about it? Beer-wise, definitely looks the part of a Weizenbach. I mean, if I hold it up here, you can see it's got that rich mahogany in color. Nice, beautiful khaki-colored head. Tight, compact, nothing too crazy, but it definitely, you can see through it, but it has that nice brown / mahogany kind of combination going on. Kind of what you'd really expect from a nice Weizenbach. So definitely off to a good start here. Treehouse. I have had a Doppelbock from them. I probably have. I've had wheat-based beers from them before, and I think I was a fan quite a bit. I think it was mostly traditional, the slight kind of treehousey twist on there. So let's just dive in the nose. That's really kind of candy-like. And by candy-like, I mean very much like Euro candy, like European candy. Think of like, you know, and I guess by Euro candy I mean like real candy. Not like Americanized, just sweet and sugary, hard candy. More like spiced, soft, chewy candy. Something. I'm having a hard time kind of thinking what to relate it to, but being that my mom was from, she was off the boat, an American citizen from Scotland, and then with my wife, her grandma is off the boat from Germany. You tend to get some of these candies like around like holidays, Easter, Christmas, and stuff like that. They tend to be like these kind of chewy kind of, they're not fudgy caramel, even though they do have that kind of vibe to them, but there's a lot of like anise and sarsaparilla or these kind of spices in them that give you this kind of like little bit of a spiced adult kind of chew. That's very much what I'm getting in this beer, is that a spiced kind of adulty kind of chew. So you get that spiced kind of, it's very much like not necessarily straight licorice, but anise, I say anise. With a combination of like something a little bit more kind of currenty maybe. With this really nice kind of caramelly vibe to it. And it just comes off as more of like a Doppelbock, not a Doppelbock, Weizenbach is definitely wheat-based. You definitely get that wheat and that little bit of subtle bubblegummy phenolic kind of thing going on. It's like it had a baby with a winter warmer. That's kind of how this beer kind of comes off for me. What did they talk about here? They said the dark fruit thing, mild yeasty phenols, molten toffee, and the brown bread. It really does have this rich kind of decadence to it, but at the same time has that kind of spicy kind of characteristic going on. It has really, really kind of made me kind of get super excited about it, to be perfectly honest with you. We're diving in. Cheers. It's exactly what it tastes like, too. It's been really curious. Interesting is the word I should use there, not curious. It's been really interesting. I've had none of these beers back again. I mean, the third beer I've had since coming off of Dry Holiday, Dry January. I was kind of like, not worried. Worried's not the word, but just kind of curious to see how my palate would be as far as tasting stuff and where it would be, and you know, not quite sure exactly how I'm going to taste things or whatever. Anyway, I think there's a little bit more liveliness to it. I think maybe it's the opposite. Sometimes you'd be like, practice makes perfect. You kind of hone your skills and you taste things better, because that's a proper word. Whereas with this, coming back like this, I feel like maybe it's more like, okay, I've stepped away, so I'm not used to these flavors as much. So they're a little bit more explosive for me now. Aromatically, it has that kind of spice, European kind of anise kind of. I'm really am missing that. What did I say earlier? Currenty, something a little bit. There's a spice I'm missing, and it's really pissed me off. It has that going on for it on the nose, and it really does mimic that actually in the taste. They're not lying about the mouthfeel. There is this kind of creamy sultriness to it. It definitely has that upper echelon Doppelbock / Weizenbach kind of mouthfeel that you get from the really big hitters. That spicy portion of the show is infinitely unique to this beer in this style. I've had it before in beer before, but it's more been in mixed culture-y stuff or beers that aren't Weizenbachs, let's put it that way, and to have this combination of that European chewy candy spicy thing that is so I'm so elegantly explaining and putting it in a Weizenbach, having that little dollop of banana, nothing too heavily crazy, but having that big wheat characteristic and whatnot, it all melds together really, really well, and it comes off as a super, super interesting beer. This is by far and away, I think, one of the more unique takes on beer that I think Treehouse has produced. And by far and away, I think it's one of the better Weizenbachs I've had. And that's one of my favorite styles. Sure, I don't go to it. I don't lean back into it all that often. But, you know, every now and then I'll be strolling down and I'll be like, you know, Schneider Aventinus, you know, even their Eisbach, or getting outside of that into the, what's the one I love so much that I'm forgetting? I'm going to sit here until I remember. Kullenbacher Eisbach. Those beers are so uber traditional when it comes to an Eisbach as far as how they're produced. It's just a big bold wheat beer. You have a little bit of Bachy kind of that creamy sultriness in combination with that kind of, you know, clean kind of ferment kind of thing going on. You're getting all that here, but that mouthfeel is bumped up, and that spicy portion of the show here, which I usually don't get in this kind of beers, is top notch, and probably one of my favorite flavor combinations that I've had in quite some time. And when I say this, I'm going to probably repeat myself a billion times. When I say quite some time, I mean over the past year or so, because I took about 2.5 months off, so beer has been foreign to me for a little bit. But yeah, I think this is fantastic. Thank you very much, Steven. Very cool. Dig the can. Like the beer. Love the beer, actually. Okay, we're gonna do. I was gonna shoe Mount Rushmore. I think that's a wrong move, so we're going back into it. This is definitely Mount Rushmore status for Weizenbach for me. It is the best Weizenbach I've had from a company in the United States, hands down. I don't think I've had one better. You know, and that's, you know, Treehouse. You know, not a lot of people, when they think about Weizenbachs, you know, think about Treehouse, but it goes to show you they can really crush not just hazies and not big barrel-aged stouts, but some of these traditional ones too, and bring a really cool, interesting twist to it. Even though it has this kind of spiciness that I'm not really used to in Weizenbach's, I think it still leans very, very, very traditional. I don't think it's kind of an Americanized version of that, and that's really where it kind of makes me kind of warms those cockles a little bit, because it is uber traditional and still stays there while bringing that new kind of twist to the game. You know, I keep leaning into this kind of spiced mystery European chewing candy. That kind of makes me think a little bit more traditional, because that's a traditional candy for me, or maybe it's just the way I think. But what I can tell you, it's delicious. That I know. That I know for a fact. At least for me. I can't speak for y'all. But I can just say what I want. And what I want to say is this is delicious. I keep forgetting not to set my ISO on my camera. So if it fades in and out a little bit of light variance, I apologize. New setup, getting used to it. So, yeah, like I said, Mount Rushmore status. I mean, the pricing on this, I'm going to be really curious about. Steven dropped that down, or anybody who knows the pricing on this, and let me know what you guys thought of this. Gals, she, him, her, they, them, anything in between. What you think of this? If you've had this beer, this batch specifically, I don't know if they've ran it before. What did you think? And not just what did you think, but do you have a pass? Do you have an experience with Weizenbach, with this kind of beer? Or are you coming from the Treehouse kind of side of things where I'm a haze boy, nothing wrong with that, or hop thought, or anything in between? And, like Big Barrel Stouts, and you're just kind of like Team Treehouse, so you're buying this because it's a Treehouse beer and you want to see what it's all about. What did you think about it? Like, I'm really curious to see from those perspectives, because as someone who digs on Treehouse, likes hazies, but also is a really big fan of uber traditional beer like this, I think they knocked it out of the park. So let me know what's what. Do it all down there. There you go. Review on the books. So hopefully you guys enjoyed. Hopefully you're enjoying this right now. We'll see you next time. Cheers.